News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to you, and welcome to Newsline. We are live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And it looks like it's going to be a remarkably nice day again on Paradise, Sri Lanka. And this morning, continuing with our coverage of the current affairs, which is basically some form of constitutional and political impasse. We've got Mr. Eran Wickramarathne, Member of Parliament. I don't know whether to say minister or not, so I'm just going to play it safe and say Eran Wickramarathne, MP. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, good morning. Nice to be on Newsline.
Thank you very much for coming. We're sorry that we've not been able to get you earlier, but now that you're here, Sri Lanka, in my view, appears to have an acute lack of leadership. And yet, the country seems to be united in its desire to let me vote. Put it simply, you'll have elections. Why do you think the country is fed up with the leadership here? What's the problem? What's the next plan? So many questions, I know. I'll let you, you've got 27 minutes to answer them all.
Thank you. I think you raised an important question on leadership and what is actually leadership. Now, if you look at your comment that Sri Lanka does not have leadership, I would say yes and no to that. The first thing is I would say is if you go to the schools and you see the students in the schools, you see their performance, whether it's at sports, whether it's at debating or in the societies, in schools and all, you actually see tremendous amount of leadership. And then if you look at the professions in this country, there is leadership. But again, I think you would question whether that leadership has been effective, and I think rightly so. Because I think no country can be put right only with its political leadership. Because I think the professional leadership in a country is absolutely critical, absolutely critical. And it is the counterbalance to political leadership, and that leadership, particularly in civil society and in the professions, should manifest itself independent of political party allegiances, because then it becomes the real balance for political leadership. I think your question was more directed, I think, in terms of political leadership, and the country lacks political leadership. I would say the problem is this. If you look at the political structure in our country, right, the opportunity for people to emerge as leaders is limited. I think most people listening to me this morning, if you analyze it, would probably agree with what I'm actually saying. We've had largely a two-party system, some small parties, coalition governments, and so forth. We have been craving for democracy, in a sense, since we had an independent parliament from 70 years ago. And it is a representative democracy. It's not a direct democracy. In other words, people go out and they vote for people like myself. And then when they vote for myself, I wonder what they have in mind. Whether they have in mind that he is better than somebody else, and therefore I'm voting for him. He's better because it may be his behavior, it may be his experience, it may be his education, or whatever the reason is, he's better. Then when I am elected, I'm a representative of theirs. And sometimes here is where the difference is. Then often we think that we have to do in that period what the people want. And this is something where I differ. I think people should be choosing their representative or me because they think I am in some evaluation of theirs better than the other person that they are choosing, and therefore I will make a better judgment in making decisions. I think that's a very critical distinction here, because I should be going there to do what I think is the right thing to do. Because we have to admit that always the majority is not necessarily right. Right and wrong could differ from majoritarianism and basically whether you are a minority. And therefore, those who are elected, right, should do what they think is right, what they think is just, and what they think actually increases equality. I think democracy is a value, right? It's a value. It's not just about numbers. It's a value. And I think leaders must basically do what is right. And now I would say as a result, you know, you have the battle between being a leader and sometimes we say being a populist leader. A populist leader is somebody who listens to the constituency and always says, oh, let's say what they like to hear. Let's try to do what they like to do, whether it is right or wrong, whether it's good or bad. So I would agree with you on a very rare occasion, Shaukat, right, that there is a lack of leadership in this country.
So there's a vacuum, isn't there?
There is a vacuum.
It then comes in nicely to my next question then. What's going on? Lil, I mean, this is not something personal, but it's a question that is constantly popping up. And that is this: at the United National Party, we have Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, who's been a parliamentarian for 40 plus years. He's been leader of the United National Party for 24 years. This is his 24th year. And the other side of the fence is that he served not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times as Prime Minister of this country, which is a remarkable achievement by anyone's standard. And of course, there is this other matter, which is that he has led his party to at least 25 electoral defeats at different platforms. But yet he's managed to be the leader of the party. But this is not about one man, it's about a party and a political ideology. And there are lots of people who firmly believe in that ideology, and that is the UNP is the party of their choice. So why is it that the top management, if you like, at the UNP, why is it that you all can't get your leader to see the error in his ways? He's a remarkable fellow, true, and he must be remarkable for having hung on to the leadership for so long.
Yes, I won't comment on the statistics you quoted,
right.
But just to get to the issue, before I get to the United National Party, on the broader subject of the leadership,
yeah.
I think that when I said that we have a paucity of leadership and the leadership we have failed us, yeah. I think a couple of things that immediately come to my mind is at the end of the conflict that we had in 2009, in May 2009, nobody wanted the military conflict. Nobody wanted to see that. We just walked into it over a period of time. We
That's
had
right.
Many people lost their lives, many were injured. It will take decades for mothers to, you know, to deal with their losses, you know, and so forth.
Yeah.
And it's a long process. Reconciliation is a long process.
Yes, it can't be forced down your throat.
It can't, and it will take time. Now, when that conflict was over, right, the then President, Mahinda Rajapaksa, I think had a really wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
The way I see it is this: he had 2 sets of advisors, right? One set of advisors said, here is the opportunity to reconcile the country, right, and to unite the country, to build a Sri Lankan identity, right, treat every citizen as equal, right, and to basically forge a new path for this country. On the other hand, there were other advisors who told him, right, this is not the way to go, right, and therefore we are going to take a different path. We are going to basically strengthen, right, the superiority that we have achieved militarily, and we are going to basically look at the issues in a different way, and therefore the reconciliation took a backseat, giving the private lands taken over during the military period, which was a necessity at that time, right? And I think we all have to admit, because security was paramount at that time, But post-conflict, right, there were lots of things that could have been practically done. The Office of the Missing Persons could have been created, reparations could have been given, right, reconciliation processes, you know, North-South, much more dialogue, more devolution of power to the periphery, and lots of things could have been done. And I think Mr. Rajapaksa, unfortunately, took the wrong advice and took the country in a different direction.
So then what happened to the Good Governance Brigade? Led by Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Yes, so
what happened there?
Yeah, then after that process, we had a situation where we wanted to defeat Rajapaksa, we put a common candidate forward, we talked about good governance and so forth. And actually, I think really when President Sirisena was elected, lots of people had very, very high expectations. President Sirisena also had that opportunity because President Sirisena himself, when he was being sworn in, said that he will be president only for one term. I think if he had that firmly fixed in his mind, President Sirisena, in a way, could have been Sri Lanka's hero. He could have been Sri Lanka's Nelson Mandela. If he had that
I'm not holding a candle to President Sirisena, but I think he would have done that had he not felt soon after being elected that his Prime Minister's only goal appeared to be to replace him as president and to consolidate his position, a position he didn't have. When he was appointed Prime Minister, he all had 41 members and 42 with him, I believe. And yet, President Sirisena took the overall view, obviously, that if push came to shove in Parliament, Ranil Wickremesinghe would be able to command the majority in the House.
Yeah.
And to be fair to the Speaker at the time, to Chamal Rajapaksa, he didn't turn up and say, oh, hang on, you know, you guys have only got 41 and all that business.
Yeah, I disagree with you there, right? It's true that Ranil Wickremesinghe was appointed only when there were 41 people, and at that time, I think the opposition then could have done a vote of no confidence if they wanted. But immediately after that, a budget was presented, and 167 people voted for that budget, which was an overwhelming confidence, a two-thirds majority for the budget, which was an affirmation of Ranil Wickremesinghe as Prime Minister at that point in time.
Yes, and an affirmation that the President, who constitutionally exercises his opinion, and it was a perfect opinion, which he made up, and that vote with those 167 only reaffirmed his opinion.
Correct, and I think the reverse situation exists at the moment. The President again constitutionally exerted himself, put a new Prime Minister in, but that Prime Minister has been unable for the last 5 to 6 weeks to demonstrate his majority in the House in any single way, and therefore then we could say the President's judgment in that situation was actually faulty.
Let's prorogue this program for a few seconds while we go for a short break, but we'll be back again to rejoin Eran Wickramarathne MP in the midst of a very important explanation. Don't go away. This is Newsline.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
Well, we've reconvened News First, and we're back after the break. Thank you very much. Welcome to Newsline. We're with Eran Wickramarathne MP.
So what I was saying is, if President Maithripala Sirisena had an opportunity, and I think which he squandered, because if he had stuck with the first thing, that was that he was going to be a one-time president, and he was above party politics, because we can never forget the fact that President Maithripala Sirisena was largely elected by the votes of people who supported the United National Party. That was a mandate that was given. I don't agree that the issue started because there was Prime Minister Wickremesinghe was consolidating his position. Prime Minister Wickremesinghe was firmly entrenched as a leader of the United National Party. And I think that where the issue came was quite unexpected. No scenario plans had it that Mahinda Rajapaksa would panic and offer the presidency or the leadership of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party to Maithripala Sirisena. I think that's what happened. The moment that happened, he had a vote from one place, he had an organization given from another place, and I think that really confused the situation. The president probably decided he's going to consolidate his position through the Sri Lanka Freedom Party.
Isn't it fair to say that what really happened was that Prime Minister Wickremesinghe and his party became firmly entrenched in something called the bond scam. Because, come on, Eran, you know, you're a banker and so on. And there was, let aside anything else, it was a clear-cut case of a clear conflict of interest. And it is unforgivable that a lawyer and a man so well-versed and experienced in politics as R.W., you know, it is unforgivable that he didn't get his secretary to double-check what Arjuna Mahendran had been asked to do. Did he get rid of his son-in-law's, you know, involvement in that company?
So I think because you, there are two issues that I want to deal before we end. One was you raised the issue of democracy and the United National Party. The other is you raised the issue of the bond scam. I want to respond to both of those. On the issue of the bond scam, in a way, I am a little saddened by the fact that the media keeps talking about the bond scam and a particular transactions only. I think the scam is much wider than the particular transactions that are referred to. And we have to really look at the broader picture. What is wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter who does it. And I have always said this. There has been a Committee on Public Enterprises report. There has been a Presidential Commission report, and the Presidential Commission report has been made available to the Attorney General. I think the cases should be instituted. It doesn't matter who it is. They should be taken before the judiciary, and those who have done wrong must be punished. But having said that, this scam is much wider, and the media hasn't really focused on it. These manipulation of bonds has been going on for a long time. And
you say that, Eran. You say that, but I must step in here. You say that. And Ravi Karunanaka, as the Minister of Finance, exercising his powers vested in him as the Minister of Finance under the section fails me, but he is entitled to ask the Auditor General for a report. And he did. He wrote to the Auditor General, and the Auditor General reported back on those bonds that were issued in the years of Mr. Cabral. That's what it was all about. It was about them and this. And that report, and it's done by the Auditor General. There is nothing in there.
No, Shaukat, I disagree. I'll disagree, and I'll be proved right over the next few weeks. Right? If you hear me out on this, I'll be proved right. This thing has been going on in the Rajapaksa era as well, and then these things were highlighted. What's wrong is wrong. And presently there's a forensic audit going on with the highest level, with international auditors participating. And in that forensic audit, when that report comes out, we will see that it's much wider issue than the issue that we have seen. I think the evidence will be there, the investigations are going on. And one good thing that has come out of that presently is that already, right, bonds cannot be traded like in the past at the discretion of dealers, right? This whole bond trading thing is now transparent. It's put on the Bloomberg platform, and all credit to the present governor of the central bank, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, and those who have actually put the system right. But what it's going to show, is that this scam is much wider, and they have to go back in time. They have to indict.
We quite agree with you, and we want you all to prove what you all have been saying, but it is by no means should be used as an excuse to cover up for what happened most recently.
It's not. I can tell you this, Shaukat, it's not a cover-up, right? What I would say is, rather than just keep repeating what politicians from the opposition keep coming and saying and the same story, I would tell the media, be more professional, invite the institutions, invite the heads of the institutions, interview them, get the professionals to speak out and say exactly what has happened, and to show the country what the real issue is. Whether it's a politician, whether they are officials, if people have done wrong, they must be indicted, they must be punished for sure. But I would expect the media to be a lot more professional on this issue. Don't focus just on one or two transactions, focus on the whole issue.
We are focusing on what happened. You know, Eran, I really get worked up about this. This system of issuing bonds has been in place under Governor A.S. Jayawardena. I don't think anybody, and you're a banker, I don't think anyone has got anything bad to say about Shauketaly. The system was introduced in 1997 and was only changed on the insistence of Ranil Wickramasinghe, as evidenced by what Mahendran said.
Shaukat, that I don't agree with
That's
that.
what he said.
No, it's not a question about the changing the system. This has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
I think the present investigations will show it. The forensic audits will show it. Let's wait for the forensic audits. But I might add something else here as well. It's not just a case of pricing the bond wrong. It's ultimately selling the bond to the employees' provident fund,
Absolutely.
to government funds, and cheating the public of this country is the crime. Now,
I fully agree with you.
Under RTI, brought under our government, recently, very recently, Verita Research was able to go and get a verdict in their favor where all the secondary trades of EPI have that information has to be made public. So we will know very soon the full story on this, and everybody who, whether recent or in the past, who has committed this crime must be punished. So I'm saying focus on it, focus on it for sure.
When do you think this will all come out? In a few days' time, in precisely 20 days' time, it will be precisely 1 year since the bond report was presented to the President.
Yes, so this is not a political issue anymore, Shaukat. Shaukat, this is not a political issue. I have called on basically the Speaker of the House and asked the Speaker of the House. He has presented it to the Auditor General's Department, the report he has got, the Presidential Commission report, not the Auditor General's Department, pardon me, the Attorney General's Department, the presidential reports have gone there. They are investigating. They should basically prosecute. The other issue you raised, which I must comment on before we run out of time, was the issue on democracy. As I said, everybody is shouting about democracy and wants democracy in the country. They want elections and so forth and so on. Elections is only one way of expressing our democratic rights. But the point is this. The point is, right, you referred to the United National Party and said, you know, there has been a leader for 24 years. I don't know why you didn't refer to the other parties. Why didn't you refer to the Sri Lanka Freedom Party? Why haven't you referred to the SLPP, the new party? Right? None of these parties have internal democracy. In fact, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party Sri Lanka Freedom Party is a family party. And because they couldn't, in fact, there was a change
and the
that
United
was coming.
National Party has been reduced to a one-man party.
No. The Bandaranayakas, then it went to the Rajapaksas, then the Rajapaksas, when they were losing control, they formed another party called SLPP, trying to keep control of that party.
And Ranil Wickramasinghe has managed to have the United National Party for the last 24 years.
Let me comment on that. Let me comment. What I'm trying to say is there hasn't been. If you look at parties in Asia, the big political parties, India, Bangladesh or Pakistan, there is no internal democracy. If you take China, Russia, there is no internal democracy in the political system. It doesn't make it right. And I agree with you on this one thing, that if we want democracy in society, we have to have internal democracy in political parties, including the United National Party. Every political party, including the United National Party, needs to have internal democracy. In fact, Shaukat, just this 2 days ago, I was in a meeting where the United National Party's deputy leader, Sajid Premadasa, was sitting there on the platform. And it was an internal Balamandali of the United National Party. And I made that point and in front of the deputy leader of the party, and I said, we need to change our constitution so that our party will be democratized further. We have been a party of reform right throughout.
And
on this matter also, we have had internal discussions in our party. As you know, we had some elections to a leadership council about 6 months ago. Even in that leadership council meetings, party reforms were brought up, and we expect that these reforms will happen.
Now then, we're running out of time. Loads and loads and loads and loads of messages. Some of them telling me to let you, for me to shut up and let you carry on. Well, no, I can't do that because I have to get the other side of the story out. Right, now, Eran Wickramarathne, would you agree that the UNP We talk about the UNP because you're from the UNP. And we've got a lot of sympathy for the UNP. But would you agree that you guys, this party needs leadership? Even now we hear stories that you all are now looking for another common candidate. For heaven's sake, it's very clear. When it's a common candidate, Ranil Wickramasinghe's position as the leader of the party is intact. Because your constitution says that if you're a member of the UNP and you become the leader of the country, then you hand over the leadership of the party.
Shaukat, I can say this, Shaukat.
And when you have a common candidate situation, Ranil is still safe there. Why are you guys being so subservient to one man who's obviously a failed leader?
Shaukat, I can be absolutely clear here, and I move with all the MPs in Parliament. I've talked to lots of them, and I can tell you this: we will not be having a common candidate. We will be putting for a candidate of the United National Party.
Why would you want Sajid Premadasa to run as the candidate without giving him the leadership of the party?
No. We are going to democratize our party. I don't even think that Sajid Premadasa wants to be appointed by
Whether
anybody.
He wants
I don't agree. Even Sajid Premadasa has heard what we have had to say in our reform process, as well as I said over this weekend when we were talking in Balamandales, right? We are going through our reforms. We will be having a United National Party candidate. We are not subservient. We have the potential in our party. We have a second level of leadership in our party. I think the public can say, Shaukat, you have to admit this. You have to admit this point.
All right,
the point is this, right? The point is, when you look at the SLPP, when you look at the SLFP, you look at the other parties in this country, which party is there really hope for reform? It is a United National Party. I joined the United National Party because I know there is no perfect family, neither is there a perfect party. But this party has a potential for reform more than any other party, and we will see the reforms through.
Eran Wickramarathne, I want to say this to you. As a banker, I didn't expect you to tell me to defend the bond by telling me about what happened in the past. Because the number one item that has affected the United National Party at the polls has been the bond scam. It is, and like you correctly said, it is the people's money. And the Bond Commission themselves have given us a figure, 8,517 million avoidable loss, right? Now, there is no good Ranil Wickramasinghe and the man from nowhere, Malik Samaravikrama, turning up on national television and saying, Tamba Satyak, Paduak na me ratata. What absolute rubbish. Completely rubbish.
Shaukat, you must be very clear that I will never defend the bond scam. In fact, Verity Research went to court and they got a determination that all the information has to be given. It will never be defended. If the courts convict somebody, I have gone on record in Parliament saying that if the laws of the country are inadequate, we will pass new laws to take back to the people what was robbed by the people.
Will it have retrospective
Shaukat, I have always been opposed to retrospective law, but in this particular instance, I've gone on record in Parliament saying, in this particular instance, if it has to be done retrospectively, we will do it retrospectively, because there has to be justice. Nobody is above the law. Even the president is not above the law. Everybody, what unites this country is its constitution. It's law that unites this country. We have Sinhalese, we have Tamils, we have Muslims, we have Burghers, we have Malays. All of us can be united and have one identity. It's only if we respect the law and we uphold the law. And therefore, we should be very clear
now
about
this. As we run out of time, but I really have to say this. I know that the law is the law. We had Barack Obama say that at the OAU, that the law is the law. And he said, even the president is not above it, and all true words. But when it comes to the law is the law, and Admiral Ravi Vijay Gunaratne not allowed to wear his uniform and told by the magistrate to go back and come back as a civilian, all that's fine, is it? Then why, pray, why is Ranil Wickramasinghe as the appointed leader, as the Prime Minister, when he turns up at court, he has the benefit of kid glove treatment. They send him the questions by affidavit. Why? Why one law for Admiral Ravi Wickramarathne and why one law for Ranil Wickramasinghe? Why?
You're raising a good question, but won't you grant it that recently we have seen the independence of the judiciary in this country? The judiciary just in the last few weeks has asserted himself. I believe in the independence of the judiciary. It's not in the verdict. The verdict may come in favor, the verdict may come against, that's a separate issue, but in the independence of the judiciary. Shaukat, the question you are raising about the judiciary and Ranil Wickramasinghe is not a question for me to answer.
No, that's true.
It's a question for the judiciary to answer.
It's a question that I leave in the hands of the people to answer. Why is it that we have two laws, one for everybody else and one apparently for Ranil Wickramasinghe, who made his second appearance before a presidential commission? Let us not forget the murderous Butter-Lunda issue.
Let's not just single out Ranil Wickramasinghe. I think everybody, former presidents,
the problem is
Rajapaksa, present president, Maithripala Sirisena, and all the present leaders are all subject to the law.
Accepting that Ranil Wickramasinghe has led this United National Party for 24 years, and our research shows us that he's led the party to at least 25 electoral defeats. On that note, we have to leave. Thank you very much for putting up with us. Eran Wickramarathne, thank you.
Thank you,
we enjoyed that, but I must say again that I'm disappointed in the answer about the bond. But we run out of time. Do come back on Face the Nation.
You always have the last word, but I disagree.
But come back on Face the Nation, 2.5 hours for that. Thank you, take care, have a great day ahead. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.